Goshen, Codalbo. If you can hear me, drop me a yes, so I can make sure that the mic is working. Can the participants hear me? Goshen, can you hear me? Let's see. Hi, so can you hear me? If you can hear me, drop me a yes, please. That'd be great. Fantastic, thank you for that. All right, so let's get with it. Let's drop right into it. All right, so here's our disclaimer for today. The information, context, opinions, which are expressed in the presentation and on the following slides are solely those of the presenter and not necessarily those of Vantage, and are solely used for educational purposes, as they do not constitute investment advice and or consultation on how a client should trade. Vantage does not guarantee the accuracy or reliability of the information provided herein, and as a risk warning, trading margin, FX, and CFDs carry significant risks and is not suitable for all investors. So you could lose substantially more than you initially investment. And now when acquiring your derivative products, you have no entitlement, right, or obligation to the underlying financial asset. All right, let's talk about your host. I'm Gio Betancourt, a senior VIP market analyst, market educator, and demonstrator of strategies with Vantage, bringing over 20 years of experience as a commodities trader, holding a Series 3 license and also a CMT candidate. All right, what we'll be looking on a daily basis prior to the U.S. session market open, we'll be looking at the economic calendar to see what is happening in the economic front, what's moving the markets, and we'll go ahead and identify key levels of support and resistance, and we'll trade with Fibonacci tools. A quick about Vantage. Well, Vantage ecosystem covers over 1,000 instruments, over 100 plus sharp patterns, technical indicators, and drawing tools. We offer trading in Forex, CFDs, index CFDs, share CFDs, commodities CFDs, and cryptocurrency CFDs. What we stand for: light, lean, fast execution. Execution when it comes to trading is essential. Award-winning 24-hour support, intuitive tools, and global connectivity. All right. So with that being said, let me share now with you my charts so we can start taking a look at what we actually start looking at the charts. But prior to that, let me see. Okay. All right. Can you see my chart? Are you able to see the charts? Fantastic. All right. So let's take a look at the economic calendar for today and see what was reported, what was coming. So in this particular asset, in economic news, we actually did have unemployment rate, and that actually came in lower than expected. So let me bring this one up here rather. So we have jobless claims, and the number came in at 226, and the consensus was 220. So jobless claims, meaning that people in the United States go and ask the government for help because they're unemployed. So we saw a very low NFP number on Friday last week, and now we're seeing a jobless rising because the consensus was 220,000, and we have 6,000 more. Now, these numbers obviously are arbitrary, but anyhow, the momentum or the behavior is that there's less jobs, right? And more people with unemployment. So that obviously is a help actually for the Fed to come in and cut rates. Now, would that happen next month? Things are looking more and more to say yes. All right, so let's start looking at the charts and see what we can come in and speculate. So yesterday we were talking about the pivot point for the Nasdaq. We added the high, the low, and the close divided by 3, and that would have been the pivot point for the day. And we basically saw how the market did fluctuate around that level. So let's just for the exercise, let's do that today also. 23,443 plus 23,045 plus the close 23,410 equals divided by 3. That gives us 23,299. So we chose this one. Let's change the coordinates on this level, 23,299. Now we have here our level of pivot point. But today, during the London session, we are facing a strong momentum to the upside. So, contracting the chart in this daily candlestick, we can come in and identify the ultimate target for today if this momentum is going to continue, obviously to be that all-time high. So that right there, first of all, is going to be our first level of resistance for the Nasdaq. And as far as the second level, well, let's use the upper Bollinger Band because we understand that there's volatility being incremented, and that represents 2 standard deviations away from the mean. So as volatility increases, we'll see this bands expand even more. So the initial target today is going to be that particular first level of resistance. Now, can we speculate that when the market opens, when the U.S. market opens, there will be profit taken? That is obviously a possibility, right? A probability that will happen. But initially, obviously, we see that the market has fluctuated lower. It penetrated a psychological value of 23,400. Is when as low as 23,385. So the pivot point is going to act as a possible level of support in this case because the market is above it. So will the market fluctuate, retrace deep enough to come down all the way to the pivot point? It's a possibility with this strong momentum, and the RSI in this candle is not in the overbought territory, so that could be a case. That could be a probability. So let's use our favorite retracement tool and see how much of all of this move can we speculate that the market will retrace. And we see that our golden proportion ratio, it sits right below the pivot point. So let's use that initially, right? And we can come in even also use the 50% value, or if you want to increment, use the next Fibonacci value of 78.60. That could be a place. Let me see if we can have the price there on that thing side. All right, so where can we select? We have choices: 50%, which will be at a pretty packed zone of levels, or the 78%. I'm going to choose the 50%, thinking that the momentum to the upside is strong enough to be lived as the open, and when the market will come and say, okay, well, we're so close to that all-time high, let's just might as well push the momentum higher, meet that high again, and perhaps then take profit and retrace. So initially long, buying the asset. Then we have the S&P 500. If you take a look at the S&P 500 and taking a look at a monthly chart, I want you to see if you can identify that the market has been making V-shaped recoveries. So what I mean by that is that the market, after making a high, it did this V-shaped recovery, making a high, V-shaped recovery, then making more highs. Here, another V-shape, pretty substantial V-shape, because that's when Trump came out with his tariffs anyhow. But we're seeing that even though we have been at that particular scenarios, the market continues to move higher. So what I'm getting at is that we are basically at an injunction point where we could completely come in and continue to move higher. So we are in a strong move to the upside. So we're looking for buys, looking for the market to continue pushing higher. Let me just erase these lines real quick. Go back down to the daily. Let me just expand now the chart and see. Now we're seeing that today, obviously, strong move to the upside. All of our levels from yesterday have been met. So again, the same mechanics, all-time high, and then right below that, I'm looking at what could have been like a ceiling, and I'm gonna use that psychological value of 64.40. So that's our first target, and our ultimate target will be that all-time high, because if the market continues to move higher, there is no resistance. That's why if we meet that all-time high again and we fluctuate higher, that's a new all-time high, and it will continue to be all-time highs. Let's see where the market will finish, make a top, and retrace. Now, as far as support, I'm going to use that 20-day moving average, or the medium of the Bollinger Band, as a possible level of support. And then this level right here catches my attention, catches my eye. So that's my second level of support. But initially, being long the asset, so buying the S&P, buying the NASDAQ. Dow has a strong positive move to the upside as well. So all three assets, all three indices are pushing higher. So that's a good news. That's a good omen to have. So we understand that all three indices are in a rally mode in the London session. Why wouldn't that happen in the US session? Okay. So again, looking to my left, I'm going to identify that high and use that as a possible level of resistance. And between the high that has been made today of 44,596 and where my second level of resistance is, so if it's 596 and that's 846, I'm basically looking at 350 point move, right? Around that area, so 350, and we divide that by half, that'd be 175. So I'm gonna select the opening of this candle about 44,709 as my first level of resistance. Support, being that yesterday the market did fluctuate lower, it penetrated the first level of support, but it found support. So that is just another conviction that the level is holding. So I'm gonna leave the same levels, and then obviously psychological value. So initially move to the upside, looking to revisit those previous highs, because we have that all-time high. Even where's it at here? 45,300. So buying the indices. Crude oil yesterday had a pretty wild swing. I mean, look, This thing opened at 65. It had a high of 67.11, then a low of 64, basically, and a close of 64.70, 69. All right, so this is such a wild fluctuation, and with being today the market opening gap up, because this candle opened at 64.80, and you can see that it opened gap up. So now can we come in and speculate that the market is looking to have found a bottom at 64? So therefore, one of our level of support should be 64, and that makes sense. And between where the swing low of this candle, which is 64.50, 0.497, 50, we can come in and speculate or choose to select a level of that will render some psychological value. So 64.30 is that value for me. Now, as far as resistance goes, since we had such a wild swing high, basically retracing all of yesterday's candle, of the body of the candle yesterday, well, it makes sense just to come in and say, okay, will the market have that will the market have again that much of a momentum to the upside to come again and revisit that high from today? Well, if it does, then will it overspill into a higher territory? That could be the case, but I won't be betting on it, because obviously we do have OPEC Plus talking about they are going to increment their production, and obviously everything around crude oil, the pricing of it, and around the world, the bills that are being made. So then they will need energy to drop even more. $60 could be a place where this administration could find prices at ease. So I'm going, basically what I'm telling you, my direction is selling, looking for sales. That we could have another knee-jerk reactions to the upside, but then again, that'd be short-lived. So I'm looking for sales. Then Nat Gas, basically Nat Gas is, look at the difference between Nat Gas and crude oil. The body of today has a more deep depth into it. This one is pretty shallow. Let's look at Doji anyhow. So therefore, I'm anticipating, or I'm looking that the market will do a sell-off here. So I'm going to use this particular swing highs of this wicks, creating like a double top, if you will, as my first level of resistance, and then the medium, or the 20-day moving average of the Bollinger Bands as my second. My psychological value of $3, around $3, is going to be that initial first level of support, and my second level of support, yesterday's swing low. So again, looking to sell the energies, buying the indices. Gold. All right, so gold is having a pretty strong move to the upside. 3,400 is right there. So I'm thinking that today they will come in and hit that marker, and then I'm going to use 3,410. But we need to obviously retrace or push again higher. The market did a pretty strong pullback, but that could all be set on the market fluctuation later on. Also, the dollar index is something that we want to be able to keep an eye on. And as you see, the dollar index is dropping. It's below 98, as we anticipated yesterday. All right, so resistance, support levels for gold, 3360 is going to be our first one. Then I'm going to use the 20-day moving average, the medium again. I like to use those levels. I look for also previous volume clusters to see if I can identify some of those swing lows, double bottoms, triple bottoms, things like that, that will identify places where the market was rejected and it found buyers, because that's what support is, buyers. Let's take a look at silver. So looking for a move to the upside on gold. Silver is in a parabolic movement. 38 was yesterday's target, initial target. It wasn't really met. Today being surpassed. Both of our levels has been surpassed. So let's use our trend-based fib extension, and in this case, let's use from the swing low to a swing high, and let's see how much more of this movement are we looking to see here still, if there's any. Let me just change the values to the right so we can see, because they're right in the middle. Let me see prices. All right. So they're not, we can really see them. All right, so this movement it's a strong movement, so the tool is not being applied, it's not being helpful right now. So we will need to easily come in and figure out previous swing highs, previous swing lows. So we take a look towards our left and see where that will be. Okay, so initially this wicks, this swing lows here, let's use that as a first level of resistance. That's our target. And then $39 psychological value, that's our second target. As far as the support goes, well, yesterday's swing low and the previous day's swing low. So that's our levels for support for silver. Buying, being bullish. The market is giving you a strong momentum to the upside. In the RSI, it's not even in this daily candlestick, it's not even in that territory of being overbought. So copper, sideways trading as I mentioned yesterday. Consolidation, just really after that deep drop, found that bottom, and it's just staying, just choppiness, staying around there, those levels. Look, even today was a bit barely when it hit my yesterday's level of resistance. So basically I'm just gonna use that opening around that level of the candle and still leave 445 as a possible level of resistance. Use 435 support, just tying this thing up, and then this swing low here as my second. So as the market constrains itself, it contains itself, it's just building up, and then a breakout. Will a breakout be on our favor, or a breakdown be what's happening? Well, the market sure is not going either direction, but if the previous move was down, that will tell us that all those sellers have been absorbed, and now we're waiting for a catalyst for copper to take another leg high or catch a bid. Bitcoin moves by thousands, like I said. So look at that movement from today. Yesterday, it did penetrate our first level of resistance, but it continues to move higher. So 117,000 will be our first level, which basically is right there. And then 118. As far as support, 114. And then we can come in and use 113, which is basically also a point where the moving average crossed the lower Bollinger Band. That would be of interest for me. Okay, so momentum to the upside, buying. The euro, 117, it hit that target today. What basically it kissed it. But it's still, it hasn't been met, so I'm gonna leave it. And then 117, looking to my left, see if this 117.520 actually coincides with almost the opening of this candle. So that's why I'm gonna leave my second level of resistance. As far as support, well, 116 jumps at me. 116 is psychological value for the euro. And then the 50-day moving average is my second one. So looking for a buy, even though it has retraced. So let's see if it does continue to retrace with this pullback. Will it find support at the 20-day moving average, the medium of the Bollinger Band? And from here, do a reversal and then take another swing at that 117. Then the pound, the pound is in a rally mode, higher highs, higher lows, uptrend, strong uptrend to after this bottom. So, hey, why not? Why not come in and decide that the pound is looking for a 135? So that's going to be my level of resistance. And then looking to my left, I see the swing high. I'm going to use that. It's real close to where the market is, but we have the 50-day moving average right above the market. So that's it's gonna act as a dynamic level of resistance, putting some pressure on the pound. Let's see if it's sustained, or will the pound just steamroll over it. Then as far as support goes, I'm gonna use 133 and change this swing high here, and then 133 flat psychological value. Let's see. Now we should see that momentum to the upside being sustained if we see that the dollar index makes another leg down. Yesterday had a pretty, at the beginning of in the morning, it had a pretty strong movement to the upside. He found that hit that level of resistance, but and then quickly just started selling off. So, and he continued to do a sell-off, being able to actually close below that 98. Actually, where did it close? Actually closed at 98. So it was right there at the borderline. So therefore, let's take a look from this swing low. I'm actually just gonna take a look at this other swing high and use that as a possible level of support. And then just the range of 1 day could be enough for us to find support for dollar index. But we need to see the dollar index continue to move lower, to push lower for obviously for the currencies and everything else, the metals, to continue to move higher. So if we see a drop on the dollar index, which might be the case, also this doji, but obviously we have to close out the doji line to see if that will be the case. All right, so we've identified the levels of support and resistance for our 12 assets that I follow. Are there any questions? Does anybody have any questions? Okay, great. Now, since the market is about to open about a few minutes, let's break it down to an hourly chart and see how the market has been reacting. What is its behavior? We have identified the day levels, the day targets. If the market happens to do a sell-off, our targets will be obviously a support, and in this case the pivot point will be of interest. If the market is being able to sustain itself and push higher, right, because we are in earnings season, and now as companies come out and report. By the way, let's see who is reporting today. All right, so today, Thursday, let's see who's reporting today. All right, Eli Lilly, that's a big one. ConocoPhillips, Energy, Crocs, Sony, Peloton, Intuitive Machines, Warner Bros. Is reporting today. Hyatt Hotels, Ralph Lauren. There's a Jetty. There's a big companies, pretty big companies reporting today. So we should have momentum to the upside and volatility, obviously, because there's always gonna be insider trading. Someone is gonna spill the beans. They'll sell that information. And obviously we'll see some companies report after the bell, some companies report before the bell, some companies report during the session. So, but those are the big ones. So we'll have a lot of volatility coming in today into the markets. So therefore, what are our chances for us? How can we, what tool can we use to come in and kind of like identify a trend or direction that we can come in and see guide us? Well, there's one tool called, and this puppy's not here, let me see. All right, so there's one tool called all right, market is open, the pitch fan. Okay, and the pitch fan is used by identifying a strong trend or a direction, which so far in this candle we identifying this 4 candles to the upside. So we select the low, we select a high point of it, and then we select the next low. So like this guy right here. All right, so there's different okay, this one's not coming. All right, so the direction or the reasoning to use this particular tool is for us to see if the market, as I analyze this particular, the algorithm inside the tool, as it analyzes this particular move to the upside, and it seems that there's been a retracement or a correction, if you will, if the market will come in and fluctuate back into the mean. So the mean is this middle line right here that you see in the red. That's the middle, the mean. So the mean is like a magnet, like a pivot point. It attracts the market towards it. So if it's, as volatility expands, it'll fluctuate out of it towards the upper lines, the fan, and those are resistance levels. And if the market fluctuates lower, then this will be levels of support. So now our job is for us to come in and say, all right, is the market strong enough? Is momentum strong enough for us to come in and the market coming back into the mean of the fan? And once it does comes to the mean, will it penetrate it, will fluctuate higher, and then use the same mean as a level of support and the upper lines as level of resistance. So far, the market is sideways trading, so I'm going to take it out because it's done a sideways trading. It didn't do much of a move to the upside. Let me go down to a 5 because that's where we see fireworks starting and we get more enthusiastic about trading. Now, just because you get enthusiastic about trading doesn't mean that you have to let your emotions take control of you. So initially, this initial move, we understand that profit taking could be taking place. The momentum still being held to the upside in the overall market. There's healthy reports coming out. The only downside is the jobless claims today being a bit higher than expected. But that just gives more fuel for the Fed to even come in cut rates. And the indices love cutting rates. So if we do see cut rates, that's another thing. We continue to push higher. So if we want to have a reasoning for the market to continue to push higher, well, we're receiving news data that supports the Fed to cut rates. And besides that, we're in earnings season. So here we go. We're breaking out of this range that the market was basically doing prior to the bell opening. Now we have the bell open, just basically 3 minutes. And targets, swing highs. It's a pretty strong candle to the upside right now. Take a look at the other assets, what they're doing. All right, so the S&P, that was a pretty strong move so I won't be surprised if this move right here repeats itself. But this is the London session. It made that high, and from that high, it retraced. Let's see how much has it retraced from this low to that high. All right, so here we have that the market has basically, it almost retraced 100% of it. It came down towards 78%. And from here, it penetrated even more than the golden ratio. So from here, will it be able to now recover? Let's take a look at choosing. See, right now, this candle, let's just wait for the first minutes to market to settle and see, give us a direction, because the market is very sharp in it. The 50-day moving average is below the 20, so it's giving it support in this particular asset. So finding direction, doing a head fake to the upside. Let's look at the Dow. Dow, wider swing, taking out whatever stops and take profits are in there. Let's take a look at crude oil. So crude oil seems to be making these a hammer. So we have a hammer move to the upside. If this candle closes in red, okay, we could probably be seeing a dead cat bounce here. So, but we still have plenty of time in this candle for it to close. Because basically, what I'm seeing is that the market is pushing lower, made that particular hammer spike to the upside, and if it does something like this and takes out that low, will the treasury continue to move lower in this particular case of crude oil? So right now we are still waiting to see if this candle is going to close in the green or in the red for us to go in and identify a possible dead cat bounce. It may not. Let's see Nat Gas. Okay, so Nat Gas is pushing higher. So I've taken a trade 3040 ultimate made up the 50 moving average. All right, let's take a look at gold. Oh, cup and handle. This is a cup and handle trade chart right here. Let me see if I could draw it out for you. So we have here the handle, and now we see the cup. All right, so breakout at 389. Would it do a breakout? He's gonna meet that high. That high of this candle is 3389.83. So will that be let's see. So basically what we're looking to do here is if the market does fluctuate above that, continues to do it, and if it does a throwback, will it do this? That's what we're basically a scenario looking for, because a cup handle is a bullish pattern. So there we have our scenario for gold. So it did penetrate it, but it quickly retraced into its own candle. We still have a minute left, and this RSI is still far away from entering overbought territory. So we're still waiting. We're still waiting to enter a trade, and the way that we will enter a trade, if the market happens to do fluctuate above it and does a throw back into our now support line, or what's the resistance at this moment. It's actually tracing. Let's wait for 30 seconds. Any questions so far? All right, so we have a strong red candle. So this scenario here has been taken out. Okay, so in this particular scenario, market retracing, first level of confluence, or I can see that there was a volume cluster is this area that I just highlighted. I don't know if you can even see it. Let me make it, there you go. I think you can see it that way. Can you see that now? So will the market come down all the way into this area in here? If the market does come towards it, will it do a reversal? Or has the market already done a reversal? It basically has done a triple bottom with the wicks. Actually double bottom with the wicks. Looking for a move higher. Still looking for a move higher. Dollar index is not helping though, because we want to see a dollar index declining. It's at 98. So psychological value is holding the dollar index at around 98. So we want the dollar index to fluctuate and just drop, so we can see that momentum being gained by the currencies, by the metals. Take a look at silver real quick. All right, so silver is breaking out of its range in this 5-minute chart. Short trade 38.5. Copper, copper is doing nice, a long move to the upside. First target of 44.13 or 0.41. Bitcoin, profit taken after having last 20 minutes of momentum to the upside. But looking at 117, that's what I'm looking at, 117. The euro, ooh, choppiness on the euro. Fluctuation around the 20-day moving average. RSI below 50. So implying momentum is gold has retraced strongly. It retraced into our zone. All right, so it's looking to break out. All right, so it did. Okay, so it's broken out. It's broken out at that swing high. Nice move. Momentum being raised. So initial values, targets 33.92. For those who are more conservative, well, the upper bound, your band, pointing at 33.90. Let's be tracing quickly. We need the dollar index. See, the dollar index is putting pressure on gold. We still in the green. We want this number right here on the dollar index to be being red. For it to fluctuate below 98. If it fluctuates below 98, we'll see a nice pop on gold towards our 33.92 initial target. We still have a minute and change left on this candle. So let's see. 33.91-ish on the upper Bollinger Band, which is it'll be our initial target. Conservative move, a dollar move. You take what the chart gives you, what the market gives you, but it's holding. You see the market price action is holding. It's holding steadily, and we're hearing that the dollar index is retracing. It's dropping. Now it's 0.008. So we should see now 0.003. So we should see a nice pop. Oh, now it came back up. 0.03, 0.003, still there. It's a little tug of war. Crude oil used to be jumping. So it did jump, gap up, hit both of the dynamic levels of resistance, and it's pulling back. All right, so NASDAQ has, when almost in the 15 minutes, it is creating quite a range. After doing a nice pop to the upside, it's retraced. But you see how the moving averages they do their job nicely, sustaining the market. Ooh, so now we're looking for a push lower on the S&P. The same goes for the Dow. Let's see what happened to the Dow. All right, crude oil moving higher. Actually, we have the Dow. Crude oil, same, pushing lower in this moment. Nat Gas consolidation, just sideways trading. Great setup for a breakout or a breakdown. Okay. $33 is the target if it breaks down. Gold. All right, so gold pushing higher. That 392 target. So the 391 has been met. Target met. Push to the upside. 33.94. It's not on unless we have a little more of a pullback on profit taking. Dollar index is just holding on. Silver, nice move to the upside. 38.5 has been met. Well, actually, hasn't been met. Almost. Because this candle came as close as 38.498. But 498 is not 500. So the target is 38,500. Initial target. Then we have copper that was nicely moving to the upside, and then it found some resistance right below 441 profit taking. Will that profit taking just engulf the previous this candle? That could be a possibility. Bitcoin. Ooh, Bitcoin. It moved to the upside and now it's dropping like a stone. The moving average of the medium is a level of interest to see if the market will do a reversal from here. If you find support around this moving average. Currencies are just sideways trading, shoppiness. The same for the pound and dollar index. It dropped. It recovered. It's actually doing a right now is creating a symmetrical triangle. So higher lows and lower highs and higher lows. So it's doing higher lows and it's doing lower highs. Will it come out of it? Oh, and it's coming out to the upside. So that'll put pressure on the metals and the currencies. Let's take a look at the gold. So it's retraced. It almost here at 394, 3393.83. Okay, well, that was the overall direction that I was contemplating for this initial move. We're still early. We barely 20 minutes into the open. So at least we have broken out of this trajectory which I was pointing to you on this area. So if you actually came in at 33.90 and held it at about $3, now it's pulling back deeper into the fluctuation. Let's see if we find support here in this area. This area right here. Right here. Right here, right now. Let's do this right here. See, and it's penetrated. Has it found, or it did retrace from there, but now coming again because the dollar index, so it did penetrate to that level. It's basically gone. So it's moving even deeper. Let's see if it's holding now. Retrace out. You know, there's a saying you make more money on the downside than on the upside. So when the market is trending lower or when it's declining, it moves faster. I take it because of the physics, or for whatever reason it is. The old saying was, when there's blood on the streets, is the best time to make money. Or the best time to make money is when there's blood on the streets. So when there's obviously all of this scenarios, crisis going on, and you see the market dropping like such, like in this case, oh yeah, the market will run. But there we don't have something like that. So yeah, I mean, the only thing that will do something like this and most likely trading will be halted was that if Russia attacked the US, right? That'll be something that we don't want to experience. Nobody wants to experience, because no one will be safe anyhow. So, but those are the things that you're listening, you're hearing, you know, on the news, on TikTok, on the apps. Let's see if they will be able to come into an agreement between today and tomorrow, and have a ceasefire in Ukraine. Let's see what will happen, because obviously those things they do have an effect on the markets. Crude oil, for example. Let's take a look at crude oil. Oh, this guy open gap down. It's being closed. So that momentum to the downside is being built. So that could be a possible trade to the downside. Obviously, selling the asset. Targets will be, well, that bottom, this particular candle, that hammer. Okay. Will that be the case? Because this gap down opening and being closed and not continuing higher could be an indication of that. So initial target 64.80. Just psychological values that will help you control your emotions, because your you're falling into something that makes sense to you, so that calms your other you, your inner voice that says, "Yo, no, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that." That voice keeps us from doing a lot of things. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. But right now we're holding on and seeing how this 5-minute chart, this asset will fluctuate. Will this gap down indicate precisely that? Well, previously it was a gap up, and it shot up. I mean, it was a pretty strong move, almost to 65.10. Now it's changed direction, but we need to obviously see how what else is happening. The dollar index is just steadily holding, so that's giving it some boost, and that direction might change. Let's see. Let's take a look at Nat Gas. So Nat Gas is also just basically within range. Gold, fluctuation to the downside. It found support. Again, another attempt at 1392. The ultimate 3,400 by the end of the day. Well, that could be feasible, right? Then silver, 38.5 is just not budging. There's a whole lot of sellers at 38.5 or right below 38.5. They're sustaining that momentum that moved higher, and we basically created a range between 38.5, 38 and 400, equal highs, equal lows. So, pressure cooker. Where is it going to break out of? Is it going to break out to the downside or to the upside? Right? Let's see what we'll do. I want to favor to the upside. The momentum is on our side. We are on the RSI above 50. We're not in overbought territory, so why not? Well, copper seems to have another look at it, and is just also looking to sustain itself around 440. Bitcoin. Ooh, Bitcoin. Will this candle just drop and just cross the 20-day moving average and find support at the 50? The currencies, they're retracing after just hitting that 50-day moving average, penetrated, and just now it's retracing. Dollar index is getting stronger. So that's putting some pressure on that. But still within range. I mean, it's not much of a strong fluctuation. The pound is also just sideways trading. And then we have the dollar index that is looking to recuperate itself, is looking to fluctuate higher. If it does fluctuate towards the 90, 100, we'll see a pressure downward on the metals and on the currencies. We wanted to be able to see the dollar index dropping and running, and just dropping, so we can continue to move higher. All right. Then we have the Nasdaq looking to break out. I think it's my speculation is that this puppy is going to break out. It's going to break out to the upside and hit our initial targets. The initial level of resistance 23,710. But you want to go by psychological values, 23,660, and then 23,680. Move to the upside, so we're on the right direction. All right, so the S&P, it dropped. And this goes to an hour. Basically, the range that we've seen so far still been. Let's go half an hour. Half an hour is still seeing that move to the upside. This half hour, pretty wide range for the S&P. This half hour, pretty wide range for the Dow. Okay, crude oil also. So initially, you also by constraining the time frame to half hour, you're identifying also levels of resistance and support. So this could be a resistance, this could be a support, the range, today's range so far in that time frame. Then Nat Gas in this time frame is looking that it wants to break down. That's my take on it. Gold, well, gold had a nice move to the upside. It didn't quite reach the high of the London session, but it's still early. Silver, again, looking at 38.5 to break that. It's retraced from of it upward, so profit taken, but still, it's barely 9 o'clock. Then we have copper, Bitcoin, put in range of that high, that move high. The euro dropping like a stone. If it does continue to move lower, are we gonna find support at that these swing lows? 116.379. The pound is now retracing. It's now looking to close above the upper Bollinger Band. And this will happen. I mean, we'll see move to the upside on the metals and the currencies. If the dollar index decides, okay, that was it. If it does find resistance where the 50 moving average is meeting the upper Bollinger Band, and then just drops. But if it fluctuates outside of or above the 50 moving average, then that volatility will be incremented, and so therefore we'll see a push lower on the currencies and the metals. All right, guys, that's it for me today. I trust you like this. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. This will be done every single day, yes. Half an hour prior to the US session open. Some days we'll have more information to look at, add explanation of some other tools. But this is the mechanics of it on a daily basis for an hour. If it merits to go more than an hour, I'll go more than an hour but for now we're doing it for an hour, half an hour prior to the US session open and half an hour afterwards. So we already identify the range on this half hour of market fluctuation. So we can come in and now speculate where the direction of the market could be, right? As we speak right now, yeah, the NASDAQ is retracing, but the overall market direction is upward. So looking for opportunities to buy. S&P, same. Dow is the one that has more of a downtrend, if you will. So again, shorting the Dow, 50 moving average, it would be my initial target, and I'll let that run. But it's right there at a psychological value of 44,400. Crude oil, looking to sell it. Nat Gas, looking to sell it. Gold, looking for a rebound, for a reversal, and let's see if 3,400 will be breached today. That's my speculation. Copper, yeah, copper is looking to, silver, that 38.5 was a level that is strongly rejected. So let's see if you retrace deeper into the medium, or will found buyers. Copper, again, medium will be the level of interest. Bitcoin, okay, well, is it going to just explode and just do this? It moves by thousands, so keep that in mind. And the obviously is being sustained. Dollar index is applying pressure, but above 116 to close above 116 today. The pound, it is just no volume. It is quiet. This is something that when it comes out of it, it'll move fast, but we are overbought. So perhaps 134 could be that target initially. And the dollar index, if we close the night above 98,100, we'll see more pressure on those currencies, and that precisely the pound will